So my name's Ross Parkinson, and I have been a full-time artist since I was 17 years old, which makes it 46 years now. My medium of choice is soapstone, or the technical name is steatite of the stone, and I carve mostly wildlife animals, basically on a Canadian northern theme. My inspiration tends to come from nature, being outside. These are just some of the places I like to go and see things and then try and recreate them in my studio. So when I was 17 years old, a friend of my dad's just stopped in one day and said he'd picked up somebody had given him some chunks of stone that you could carve. Did we want to try? So both my father and I tried carving some stone that weekend. And after we showed it to a few people, the things we had made, everybody seemed to like it, and people started asking if they could buy it. So within a couple of months, this was literally a full-time job. We did a few shows. My dad and I actually got to work together for 26 years, which was very nice. We each had our own style. Mine led more to the animals. Dad preferred doing more figures, but to each his own, and I've been carrying on now for 46 years, but it totally just happened by chance. You know, if that guy hadn't stopped in with the blocks of stone, I might never have started carving. Although I always did have an aptitude for doing things with my hands. It's always been very hands-on, basically. I had done a couple of little wood carvings before. Nothing major, certainly nothing like what I do now, but so I just have it in me. I guess it's I guess some people would say natural talent. Different people do different things. Mine happens to be working with stone. So this is all carved out of what is known as soapstone. The technical name is steatite, and steatite is comprised primarily of the mineral talc. Talc is a very soft stone, and it lets any other minerals in the area form in with it. So it gives it a great variety of colors and grains in the stone. When you start off with a piece of soapstone, it looks very gray, and it's not until it's wet sanded and polished underwater that the actual colors start to show. So every piece is quite a surprise, as I have control over the form, but not any of the color in the stone. Soapstone is found all over the world. It's a natural occurring stone, a sedimentary rock that's been laid down millions of years ago when the earth was being formed. And it can be found in various countries. Most of the stone that I use comes from a quarry in southern Quebec, and that's basically the darker colored stone that I have here, although the different minerals in any different area will change the colors of the stone. I also use some Brazilian soapstone, which is a brown, generally a brown colored stone, or beige. I do a little bit of Afghanistan soapstone. I have used a few pieces of African soapstone. So yeah, just to have a little variety and to show people that it does come not just from the north or Canada. Soapstone is from all over the world. I'm representing basically the different animals which are getting endangered, if you will. You know, I like doing whales, I like doing bears. The polar bears right now are having a terrible time up north with global warming and climate change. So, you know, at some point in the far future, there won't be any of these things left for future generations to see, but stone carvings will remain. Once you've made one, they're good for quite a while. So, well, I think the favorite thing I like to do is bears. I love the power of a bear. I love the movement. Where we live in West Brome, I can actually go out into the woods across the river and see black bears. I've never been up north to see any polar bears, but I have seen them in zoos, and certainly a lot of TV documentaries about them. So it's the power and strength of a bear, the movement that seems to lend itself very well to the type of stone that I use. So that would be my favorite thing to carve. So the first thing I do when I get up in the morning is feed my dogs and myself, and I take them for a walk. And it's not a walk down a road with dogs on a leash, it's them running wild in the woods sort of thing. And that's where my inspiration comes from, basically. So every morning, that's my ritual. It's a good 45 minutes to an hour up in the woods, and then you come back and you get dusty in a room. The process of carving stone, originally, when people were a Stone Age people, they would just take a harder stone and a softer stone to try and make something. Over the years, as we progressed into the ages of metal, the Copper Age and the Iron Age, then you could use a much harder material to carve the stone, and it was much easier. So if you fast forward the thousands of years from when soapstone was first carved to today, I start cutting it out on a bandsaw. So I take a large chunk of stone, I draw out or see something on the stone that I want to make, I give it a rough form on the bandsaw, and then I have, for on the larger pieces, I have big angle grinders, I have tool and die makers die grinders with carbide bits to remove as much of the stone, because basically what you're doing is trying to remove everything that's not, say, the bear or the loon or whatever it is you're trying to make. And the fastest way is with the saw and these grinders. But then it does go down to wood rasps and files and lots of sandpaper. I do 2 grades of dry sandpaper, and then it goes underwater with 6 different grades of wet and dry paper, getting finer and finer and smoother as you progress. Then you put a clear oil on it and give it a good polish up, and this is the end result. I don't think I've really had any down times with soapstone. It's something I really like to do. There's certainly been ups and downs in the economy, and as a full-time artist, you do have to have, you know, like a good venue and a good economy to be able to sell your work and live through it. So it's basically just the economy is the factor of how much stuff sells and how much it doesn't sell. If you're carving away and things aren't going quite as well as you like, if you're hitting hard stone, or if you have flaws in the stone and things are seeming a little more difficult, the best thing to do is to get out and clear your head. And for me, that is taking my dogs for a walk in the woods, letting them run around, seeing what animals we can see around here, and just sort of refreshing yourself so you can come back in and get a new start. If anyone is thinking about doing a career as a sculptor, you have to be prepared to work extremely hard at it. If you want to start at 10 o'clock and finish at 2, you're not going to get a whole lot of done, because it is quite the process to sculpt stone. There are many different types of stone, and some of it is much harder, even in the soapstone that I use, and it can vary greatly from one piece to the next. It can take you much longer to do one piece due to the hardness of the stone. So if you're, if it's something you want to do, you have to be prepared to work extremely hard at it. It has to be a discipline. You have to get up and put in the hours, and you know, there's certainly times when you make something and it doesn't go the way you want. Could be flaws in the stone that can create problems as you're carving. But so if you're actually willing to have the inspiration to get up and put the hours in, then it's certainly something that people can do. It is a bit of a messy job, though, I will tell you that. You're in dust from morning till night. It's basically, if you thought of taking a 5-gallon pail of talcum powder and throwing it up in the air, that's kind of what it is. So I have been wearing a mask, like all of us do now in COVID, but I've been wearing it for 46 years. So. Well, when this COVID pandemic came about, no, I don't think we realized how long it was going to go on for. And for the first few weeks, it was just like, oh, well, we'll have a little vacation, just spend some time at home. And things got progressively worse as the pandemic continued, and it certainly cut out most of my venues for retailing the soapstone. A lot of the galleries closed down, or at least temporarily. A lot of the boutiques that sell the carvings, all the art shows that I normally do, or the art tour in Sutton, Knowlton, all those stopped for a year. So that was quite difficult. But it's still a time to get inspiration, because where we are, our studio, we live basically in a very rural area, and I can just cross the river and go for a walk in the woods with my dogs, which is something I was doing way more during COVID. And that certainly is where my inspiration comes from. So I think everybody who's an artist sort of creates their work because they know it's going to go on longer than they are. And we're all mortal. We have a certain amount of time on this earth, but when you leave something behind, something as solid as stone that you know it's going to be there in 500 years, 1,000 years, they've actually uncovered soapstone carvings in Africa that are over 60,000 years. Now they don't necessarily sign the pieces, so people perhaps won't remember the people that did it, but somebody did do it, and I'm leaving that behind, along with kids and grandkids. But yeah, so this is something that's here to stay. The big thing today seems to be the technological aspect of selling stuff. Everybody wants to retail online. I'm a bit of a dinosaur when it comes to that, and not super good with technology, so I still prefer the actual hands-on experience of doing art shows, art tours, and direct sales. Although, you know, the internet is here to stay, and a lot of people do their sales online. Perhaps this is something I need to get into to be a little more proactive with today's trends. During COVID, it's been a little challenging to find the work, sort of thing, as most of the shows were put on hold or canceled. But I have been doing the One of a Kind show in Toronto for over 36 years now. I've been doing the art tour. I have numerous boutiques and galleries across Canada that carry my things. So it is possible to find me on Facebook if you like Parkinson Family Studios page. You can see some of my photographs on there, although I don't keep it current. I find it better if you come down and contact me directly at the studio in West Brome. I do say I'm open by appointment or chance. I am here most days, but life does get in the way sometimes, sort of thing. So there's phone numbers and emails if anyone needs to reach me.
I would like to acknowledge the support of the Official Language Minority Community Media Consortium and the Government of Canada for the Community Media Strategic Support Plan.